welcome back to another episode of the Back to Basics series. Today we're going to talk about posture and also what you do with your fingers and your feet when you ride your motorcycle. It's important, and these little things could make a big difference in your riding. I apply these techniques every day of my riding, and I've been doing so for quite a few years. But it's important that when you assume the right riding posture on your bike, that it helps you with not getting tired, because the wrong posture can actually make you tired. You strain your body in the wrong places, and you get muscle fatigue and so on. So, and it also, this differs from bike to bike. Now, unfortunately, I don't have all the types of bikes with me, but I'll explain where I can as to what you can do, and the basics apply from bike to bike. First of all, when you sit on your seat, it's important that you don't sit too far back. All right, fair enough, there needs to be some room between your crotch and the tank of the back, or the front part of the seat, but you shouldn't sit too far back, unless you of course want to pop a wheelie. We're not going to discuss that today or tomorrow. Anyway, so get your position on the seat properly done, because if you move too far back on your seat, also operating your foot controls could be an effort. So I suggest that you find a comfortable position where your feet can come up onto the pegs nice and easy, and also that allows you to bend your arms. Because if you ride like this in any riding position, it really is that you're tensing up everything from your arms right up to your shoulders, to your neck muscles. Everything is tense, and like I explained on a previous video, you can't operate a bike locked up like this. So get a position where you have about a fist width between your crotch and the front part of the seat, or the tank. Not all seats come up so high on the tank, so about the width of a fist. All right, between the crotch and the tank. Then bring your arms up just onto the grips, and try and have your elbows bent. And in a good cases is where you have the forearm of your arm, the forearm part is parallel to the ground. That is a nice proper position where you have direct input behind the grip of your handlebar. Not on the top really, also not too far down. I've seen quite a few guys ride like this, and they're doing like 80 on the freeway. But try and get your forearm straight into that grip in whichever position you ride, whether you're sitting on a cruiser or sitting on a sport bike. Tuck in so that you can get your elbow bent. You can't operate the bike with a locked up arm effectively, that is. All right, so that's it, arm in nice and low. I'm not saying slouch on the bike, I'm just saying relax your arms. All right, then what about levers, and what do you do with your fingers and so on? Now, as a rule, when I ride, I always cover my levers, especially in urban situations where things can go wrong quite quickly. I need to be prepared, and it cuts down on my response time. In other words, taking my fingers from the grips out to the levers, and also getting to my feet control, gear lever and the back brake. So whenever I ride, I cover my levers. And that is also goes for my levers at my feet. So let me show you what I'm talking about, how many fingers on the levers, and why I prefer that position, and also as far as the feet's concerned, when to move the feet forward, when to move the feet back, and what is wrong and what is the right way of doing it. Come and have a look. Alright, as far as front brake fingers are concerned, is I always cover my fingers of my levers with two fingers. Sometimes you'll see me riding, if I go long distance, I'm riding like this, one finger. Two fingers is basically when I start braking. I don't use 3 or 4 fingers to brake. Some people don't have strong hands. In other words, when they shake your hand, they give you a fish. But try and use as many fingers as you need in the front brake. It's not how many fingers you have there, it's how you brake. If you brake like this, you're actually grabbing the brake, and you could slam the suspension down. So you need to bring your suspension down to a take. In other words, your brake needs to give you some tension on there, and then start applying your brake gradually in. And 2 fingers for braking is good. Sometimes 1 finger just to get you started, and then the second finger. But as a rule, I ride like this in urban areas, 2 fingers covering my levers. Not too far out. Too far out, you see that little pattern there on the grip? That's more or less where your hand should go, allowing about a finger width for your hand. In other words, your index finger is smack in the middle of your lever. See the pivot point there? It's about smack in the middle of the lever. I just bring this finger in, because that is not a strong finger. That's to point and to pick your nose and whatever, but this one here is the strong finger. So you need to have that finger on the lever as well to help you with your braking. All right, so I always keep that there. When it comes to technical maneuvering, I would definitely take those fingers away, because having fingers out stiffens the forearm and it actually hampers you from doing very technical steering. So at times you might find me using one finger there, but at most of the times when I do technical steering, I'll have my fingers away, because at that point I don't need to use the front brake, my foot's on the back brake. All right, as far as back brake is concerned, there also when I'm riding, I'll be riding with my foot just behind the brake lever, not on the brake lever, because my foot might rest and activate the brake light, and then people behind me might think that I'm braking and I'm not. So my foot's either just on the side of it or just behind it, and you need to watch the thread on your boot. If the thread is quite heavy like this one, it might not slide forward or backwards on the foot peg like you would like it to. So in that case, you might have to want your foot next to the lever so you can quickly bring it up and squeeze the back brake lever. See, next to it, squeeze the back brake lever, just in the ankle, not the whole leg and stomping, but have the foot next to it. If you have a smooth sole, you can afford to, especially on Harleys when they have the footboard, you can afford to have your boots on that, and then slide the foot forward to squeeze the back brake lever, slide it back again, and squeeze the back brake lever and slide it back again. Do not ride like this. If you ride like that, that's just plain sloppy. All right, that's just very, very sloppy. And to get your foot back up again takes time to get it there. So I'd have, when you expect a high risk situation, is to have your foot close to this lever as possible, either next to it or behind it, where you can quickly get on the back brake lever, squeeze and let go. But don't ride the foot there, and don't do this, because if you go through a turn and it gets up quite tight and low, that front part of your boot can get grabbed by an object or the road itself, and it can snap your ankle right off. So don't ride your foot down there. Don't be sloppy when you ride. As far as the clutch lever is concerned, now I'm on the DCT here, so this is not the clutch, this is a handbrake, but let's just pretend that being the clutch, is that I'll have 3 fingers, and again, the amount of grip I'm up on my hand, that pattern, it's about a finger width, and that's where I'll have my fingers. I know off-road we ride with 2 fingers on the clutch, 1 finger on the front brake, but on general riding I prefer to have 3 fingers on the clutch if it's a clutch bike. And why do I put the pinky in there? I'll explain that to you just now, because I feel that when people use clutch and they use all 4 fingers, they tend to bring the clutch in too deep. In other words, too deep into the engagement of the clutch. So make sure that you have a pinky in there, so that when you pull the clutch in and the clutch touches the pinky, that is enough clutch pull for a gear change. You don't need to, similar to a car, you don't put the clutch all the way to the floorboard. There's no need for you to pull the clutch all the way to the grip to change gear. You need to blip it. In other words, blip it to a point where it touches the pinky and change gear. And that's why I have 3 fingers on my clutch lever when I do ride a clutch bike. 3 fingers. Off-road we go 2, because we normally need more fingers on the grip to hold on to if it's a technical off-road ride. Alright, hope you've got that. 3 fingers, put the pinky in there, that'll help you with your clutch use. And if you're riding the friction zone, the moment the lever touches the pinky, you're using too much clutch. It helps as a spacer so that you don't use the clutch too much or overuse the clutch when it comes to control. Alright, now as far as the gear lever is concerned, what I do is with my foot, I don't ride with my foot on or next to the gear lever. What I do is I tuck my foot in just below the gear lever, and I preload my gear lever. In other words, make sure that my foot or my boot has contact with that gear lever. In other words, when it comes to a gear change and I pull the clutch in, my foot's already in contact with that gear lever, and all I do is just tap it up. There's no space or gap that I have to take up because my foot was hanging like a sloth off the foot peg. But it touches the lever so that when I pull the clutch in and I change gear, the gear change is immediate. There's no pull the clutch in and a gap in time and then you change gear. So make sure that when you know that you're going to be changing gears, make sure you preload that gear lever, not so much that you change gear without a clutch, unless you have a quick shifter, but make contact with your gear lever, and the moment you pull the clutch in, just kick your foot up, and there's the gear change. And again, when you're done with your gear changing, don't put your foot in so deep or let it hang off the foot peg like this. It really, that is just, it's sloppy. It might be comfortable for you, but it is not, because you can't effectively control your feet controls like your back brake and your gear lever. if the foot's hanging off like that. And yes, comes to corners and so on, if your foot gets grabbed by an object on the road or the road itself, you snap your ankle off. And I've seen that happen to people in front of me twice in my lifetime of riding. It's not a nice sight to see. All right, guys, I hope that helps you a little bit as far as posture is concerned. Try not to slouch down when you ride. Get your back up, because if you slouch down too much, you get lower back pain. And if you sit too deep into your seat and lean back like this, again, your lower back will take a hammering. Get a nice comfortable where your shoulders is right above your butt or your hip. And then you get a nice comfortable riding position. Go try it out. The important thing is that you can keep your arms bent for effective steering and handling of the motorcycle. All right, until tomorrow, stay safe please, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.